So to start off week 10, I just did a double page where I looked through my sketchbook and just sort of like made like a summative mood board of like all the successful experiments that I've done so far in the project. Because thinking about my video of what I need to start thinking about which experiments that I actually wanted to use in the video to show the pieces that I've made so far. And so just looking through all of my experiments and sort of like seeing which ones I liked most. And I think these ones are the main ones that I'm going to use for that video. And then I started by mapping out like my initial ideas. So I did 4 initial ideas, sort of focusing on like the composition and the elements that I would use. Like I already had the initial idea from the get-go after my formative assessment feedback. But I just wanted to sort of like experiment with like different like compositions and like spaces that I would use. So one of the plans was just to have the photo montage and the video flat on one wall, and the other one as well with like little extra added bits, so it sort of feels more fluid. And then this one was just sort of like thinking as like a strip. I could print it as an A1 strip, so it wasn't actually collaged; it was all together, like a panorama, with the video and a soundscape. And the third idea was across 3 walls in a space, I could have the strip of A1 photos and the smaller ones along the course of the panorama, and in the video, soundscape and my lamppost included. And then I also thought about, instead of it being on 3 walls, it being on 2 walls, like a little corner, and it, again, having the video projected, the soundscape and the lamppost. And I ended up deciding on the 4th idea, using 2 walls, just because that was the most logical and like plausible because of the space I had and also the size I wanted to print my photo montage at. I didn't have enough I didn't want to limit myself. If I had to try and cover 3 walls, it would end up being quite like a small space for the viewer to stand to see the work, and I didn't really like that idea, especially if I was going to have a lamppost and a projector in that same space. It needs to have, just being in a corner gives it more of an open space that the viewer can stand in. So I made like a mock-up of this idea of bringing the paper into the forest to eventually project my video onto. The one I had was quite a bit too small. That's fine. I'm gonna measure it and bring a bigger one when I do it properly. And I just did like up and down on each bit. And this was too many photos. I would never print this many photos for the final outcome because it wouldn't need to be this long or this like full, because it sort of feels like a panorama, like it's quite rectangular in shape, which I don't really like. But this is the sort of concept I was going for. This would be bigger, and also it would be more zoomed in. So instead of having like all this space which doesn't really have much relevance, it would be more focused on that part and then probably like up to here. And then I was just looking at like adding like words back into my photo montage, like from my poems. So I got these like letters stickers. I initially thought they were going to be Letraset type, but I ordered the wrong thing. But I'm actually really enjoying how these sit on top rather than the Letraset, because I've used Letraset before, and not in this project but previously, and it sort of doesn't really sit as like bold as I'd like it to. So this feels like it's much more like obvious that it's on the page, even though it's quite dark. So then I just was looking at sort of like the idea of having these words across the entire thing, which I quite enjoy, but I think I'll end up just choosing like certain specific phrases or lines from my poems, and put those throughout the piece. And then I was also thinking of like collaging my original film photos of the forest back into the photo montage. And I really like the idea because it sort of like emphasizes my own perception of the place, and also brings a bit more like elements of like detail and like scrapbook collage again. And it would also be a really good way for me to be able to bring in the alleyway. If I collage with photos of the alleyway from the film, the photos that I got, it would just make more sense to sort of bring in the lamppost together rather than it just being mainly forest. And then again, I was just using my film photos to do more of these collages, looking at like little moments of from my poems or like one words and stuff. And I really enjoy how this works, but I'm just making sure that I'm doing the right thing by printing my photos in colour for the photo montage, and whether it should all be monochromatic. But I'm thinking colour is definitely the way to go, especially because of this last page. I just like how the dark text really contrasts better. Like with here, sort of the words sort of get like swallowed a bit. And then on Thursday, I was lucky enough to go to the Cornelia Parker exhibition at the Tate Britain, which I loved. It was absolutely amazing. I really, really love her work, and I love how her mind works and all of her concepts. So I was just looking at like the work that's sort of related to my project quite a bit, and just I was really interested in the way she uses her space, like utilizes it. And this is all just strips of paper, but she's sort of like sculpted the room to make it look like a bell tent, which I just think is really impressive. And also her use of like single light sources links perfectly to the way I'm going to use the lamppost as my single light source. And I was looking at how she like looks at her surroundings and looks back to her childhood. These are a rubber mould poured in the pavement cracks where she used to play hopscotch when she was a kid, which I really enjoyed. And then also just this a most famous one, Exploded Shed, but that again, just that single light source that illuminates the entire part and the entire piece is just really, really impressive. And then I was just annotating the review of the exhibition, and this was on the back cover of the exhibition book that I bought at the gift shop. And I also spoke about how much I liked these two artworks that weren't at the exhibition. But here she had welded each word from the dictionary definition of gravity, and then she had chucked them off the Dover White Cliffs of Dover, and then she'd collected them again, so when they were all sort of like battered, and she'd suspended them again in the gallery space. But I just enjoy this idea of like how you use text in a site-specific way. It was really, really impressive to me.